We are the keepers of our future and our past, and the names of our heroes past and gone, on whose courage, strength, and wisdom the Northshield stands. Teach their stories to your children, to our children, till their names are written in our blood and bone.
Hello, and welcome to the Griffin Tale series, where we hear about stories of the people of Northshield, those that have experienced the most time in the SCA, or at least those that have seen the differences throughout the past and evolution of the Northshield Kingdom. I'm your host today, Sir Ajax, and today we have people who are very special to me. We have my Grand Knight, as we have so coined him, His Grace Tarrach, and Her Grace Fina. First of all, thank you guys for doing this for me. It's great because I haven't got to see you guys at all for a very long time.
Yeah, it is nice to see a face. Familiar face.
This is the first time.
Face.
I was saying, this is the first time we've been in Garb in almost a year.
That's another thing that this is kind of cool about. It gives a chance for us to go, hey guys, want to come talk to me while we sit in Garb and talk about stories? Minus the no S, there I was stories. I mean, they'll probably pop up anyway, but...
Well, they will, yeah.
So, I know that you were... Well, actually, sorry. I know that you are a Marine. So,
yes.
What groups have you been involved with since your time?
Oh, gosh, right. So, actually, I got started with the SCA way back in the early 80s, right before I joined the Marines, actually, almost immediately before I joined the Marines. We used to play D&D in the radio room at Purdue North Central. And one of the guys that we used to play with, his name was John, as I recall, had read about the SCA in Dungeon Magazine. He found out that there was a group in South Bend, Indiana, which is about 40 minutes away. And he said that he was planning on going over there that weekend and asked if anyone wanted to go. And me and I think it was Don Morell, but I'm not positive, went with him. And they treated us well and put us in armor. And I got hit really hard by a guy named Tonka Twa way back in the day. Probably no one here will ever remember him, but possibly. I know he was reasonably well known in the mid-realm back in the day. Anyways, he hit me in the leg so hard that I lost all feeling in it. and from there, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
That was Ribbon Star, right?
That was no, that was before Ribbon Star.
Okay, so
that was actually and then I lost contact. I joined the Marines, went off and came back from the Marines, went downstate to Purdue and West Lafayette. And back in the day, there wasn't, the internet, and I wasn't an official member, so I wasn't getting a newsletter or anything. So I had no idea who to contact down in West Lafayette or where to go. And I was in a German class my second semester there. And some guy walked in with an SCA t-shirt on, a guy by the name of Elgato One Thumb. And I said, SCA? You know where the SCA is? And he says, oh yeah, we meet every Wednesday night over at the Union and have fighters practice on Tuesdays. And so he hooked me up and started playing with Ribbon Star. And then I graduated and moved out to Pullman, Washington to start my graduate studies. And joined a small group there called Blue Mountain, and where I met my wife. And then we moved from there back to Michigan and continued graduate school and started playing in Northwoods. And then I was activated for the Marines for a while and played a little bit out in the mists at the Kadena Air Base. There's some people out there that were fighting. What's on his name?
Sorry.
Anyways, yeah, it's kind of important. What's his name? Ballister.
Oh yeah.
Ballister was actually out there at the time on active duty, and moved back here in Michigan, and then over to Northshield, and been playing in Korsvog ever since. But went to an event down in South Dakota, and the guy I'd met out in the mist was showing up at the events, and that was kind of fun.
I lived in Minot for a while.
Yeah. No. Rapid City.
Shattentor, that's right.
Shattentor. So yeah, those are the primary groups I've played with. So.
And I started in Blue Mountain, which is now Lions March, and then followed along with Tarrach.
I don't know if followed along is quite accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Led.
More like pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. I would definitely not be where I am today were it not for having met Fina. When I showed up in Blue Mountain, I still had carpet armor on. So, and one look at that and went, that ain't gonna cut it. If you're gonna be with me, you're gonna have to look better than that. So,
That's true.
that is true. That's when shortly after Jorg introduced us to Moscow hide and fur, and picked up the armor and started to look reasonable at that point.
Your inspiration kicked off right away.
It did. Yeah. Well, after 2 years, I actually fought for 2 years in carpet armor down in Rivenstar. So it was not an uncommon thing to see carpet armor back in the day. In fact, I fought my helm that I was using was one of Moonwolf's old Freon can helms. That is still kicking about. He's named it Methuselah.
Wow. I actually found an old artifact from Border Downs. I found Dark Helm.
Oh yeah.
And it's now in my garage, or not my garage, but the storage unit with the rest of the SCA stuff. And I was just like, wow, that's expanded steel for a face. Wow.
Yes.
And whoever wore it had to have been a giraffe because it was so.
Oh yeah, long necks. I remember putting on loner helms and stuff back in the day, and they were always so long because they had to cover your chin, and that was before they really gotten much into the real shaping. They'd always drive down into your collarbone whenever you got hit on the top of the head. I used to actually have plates on my first set of armor that sat right over my collarbone. So when the helmet came down, it didn't hit the plates, and that didn't stop cutting me because it was actually cutting into my collarbone every time I got hit in the top of the head. But the days are fun, yeah.
I mean, when they first built the helm that I used, it was too long before we flared the cheek plates, and I got hit by a Calantiri with a great sword, and it drove it right into my arm on my right side. And I was like, I can't lift my arm, guys. And you're like, it's not broken. I'm like, it's not broken, but it really hurts. Might have been close to the nerve. Help me get this off.
That's one of the things. Carpet armor was great stuff. As ugly as it looked, it protected. It was great for newbie fighters because it didn't really hurt that much when you got hit if you're wearing a nice good thick shag.
The color combinations were probably amazing too.
Oh yeah, this is the 70s. Or just coming off the 70s, so we were catching the 70s reject carpets. So pretty greens and rust browns. Yeah, those are pretty common.
So, could you tell us about your guys' personas? And I'm not sure everybody at this point would know, or at least definitely newcomers could definitely like to know.
I do 7th century Pictish from Dalriada. So Scottish, kind of early Scottish.
And I do 7th century Anglo-Saxon. I'm a Huscarl or a minor noble of Penda in Mercia in the 7th century. Got my start actually, my name Tarrach is actually a Hungarian name, and so back in the days in Rivenstar, I thought I was going to be a Magyar, and there was Sir Ragnar, is a scholar. He's a history major, and he helped me pick out a name and stuff, and did a lot of research on Hungarian stuff, and so I chose Tarrach as my first name, and but then as I started to see, the cooler stuff, the time period, the Sutton Hoo helmet, the Valsgard helmets, those are the things that started to excite me a little bit. And at the time, I thought it was Viking. And then I did some more research and tried to make some connections. It turns out that actually there's a fair amount of trade between Hungary and the north, and Tarrach actually is not unheard of as a Viking name either. So I just kept it.
That's lucky. That's a lot luckier than I was.
Luckier than I was too. Yeah.
I did have to change from Swordbreaker to Alfson though. So.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Sarek didn't like it.
Nah.
Sir Sarek thought that Tarrach shouldn't be knighted with the name Swordbreaker.
But I got the name legitimately. I broke the first swords I borrowed.
Should have been able to keep it then.
I would have thought,
I mean, I've only been lucky to break one sword over somebody, but that's... It was like the first sword, and it was used all the time, and I hit somebody, and I watched what go bleep, and I'm like,
yep.
Oh, well, I guess, crap, I gotta make a new sword, and...
I was fighting Moonwolf at one point, and just doing my normal flailing, wailing assaults because I was young then. And all of a sudden he sort of stops and starts laughing. And I'm like, what are you laughing? He backs up and he points at my sword and just like flops it over. Like, oh.
If it's flopping, that means you taped it right.
Yeah, indeed. I had to buy Griffin a new one, though.
So, what Northshield history have you guys been a part of? I know that this is probably one of the biggest questions.
Gee, a good chunk of Northshield history. Yeah. We got in shortly before we became a principality. So as we were talking before we started the interviews, I was actually at one of the first meetings or very early meeting where we were just deciding whether or not we wanted to become a crown principality. And so at that meeting, I wasn't real sure that I was real keen on the idea personally. I was, mid-realm true and true, and wasn't sure that this breaking away thing was a good idea. But some guys like Kurgan Khan and I think Grimmin might have been there, but I'm not 100% sure.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It was someone from out east that was there that was sort of organizing it a little bit, and I was convinced by their arguments and thought it was a good idea. And then from there, we started becoming more involved in that process. Eventually, becoming the people who collated the votes to see whether or not we
for one of
become
the polls. There were a couple, but we did
Right.
like I think that yeah
we did the kingdom poll, or did we do the principality poll? Principality poll.
I don't remember. It's hard to remember. I just remember it was a lot of paperwork. We collated one of them.
Poll.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was because we were the king and queen that the first bid came to. So we were king and queen of the middle when Northshield put in their first bid. We turned it down. There had been some problems with reporting, and so we didn't really have a choice. But I was the person who got to call Tarrach from Gulf Wars and say, babe, you know how you really wanted to be the king who said Northshield could be a kingdom? Well, we had a meeting and the answer's no. So
Yeah.
but it was just like a pause. It was just to get your reporting in order.
Yeah, it was only two reigns after.
Yeah,
two mid-realm reigns.
So but the reign after us could accept the bid because
Right.
then they had a full year of reporting that was on time.
Right.
So, and I think that was
Peter.
Green Jenny.
Yeah. Oh,
That
that's
was-
right.
it was
No,
two-
Alistair,
it was
right.
two- yeah, it was Alistair and Green Jenny who
Yep.
got that poll. So that that's
Yep.
yeah, I think they were the ones who did that.
Yep. I used to joke though when we were in Stellari about just having Northshield keep the Midrealm name and then having the rest of the Midrealm just become the Principality of South Oaken. And
They liked it a lot.
they thought that was a great idea. I don't know why it never happened. But so yeah, we've been involved in a good bit of Northshield history, but we miss the early stuff, right? So if you really want to have some fun talking early stuff, Caradoc and Bridget are probably your best bets.
They're on our list right now.
Good.
We'll decide who's going to interview them.
Yep.
I think I want to actually because Bridget's a hoot.
Yes.
She absolutely is.
And Caradoc talks more than me, which is something.
Except for when he and I are standing next to the rapier field when we're about ready to fight. He just kind of, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always been a serious fighter.
I like fighting him. He's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he doesn't mind teaching too, so I'm like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, what was your guys' most defining moment, I guess?
In the SCA?
Sure.
Probably. So we moved here and met Sexberga, who was a Katerina at that point. And we started a collaboration and competition, where we researched together. We were interested in the same time period and a lot of the same arts. So we researched together and we all wanted to have the newest, coolest thing at every event. And so it was like it was
competition, which drove us. It really was a friendly competition, and it did drive us quite hard.
It did. We didn't ever.
Never
I don't think I'd
otherwise.
have ever been a Laurel otherwise because I wouldn't have worked as hard. But because of that, we were like, that's where felting came from, and my tablet weaving moved from just real basic to
actually not even to not period.
From not period to much more period and much better. And our level of research, people would have like books of stacks of 20 books.
Oh.
And we would spend whole days just passing them around. Have you seen this one? What about this one? What do you think about that?
And whole days photocopying. I think I spent probably $300 on photocopies in about the 2 years we were doing that.
Yeah, and we were in college, so we didn't have any money, but that didn't matter. We were, So that's probably what shaped where we were headed in the SCA for me the most, probably.
Yeah. And for me, it was probably a little bit earlier than that, and maybe I'm going to bet a little bit for you too, because you wouldn't have been tablet weaving otherwise, right? Kaylin. So back in Northwoods, Duchess Kaylin sort of friended us. And she would invite us over to her house once a week to do A&S nights. And it was us. It was a guy named Sir Crispin from the Midrealm. He wasn't a sir back then. He was just a squire like me. Actually, we weren't even squires. Yeah, we were all brand newbies. And she really introduced us to the SCA proper. Yeah, she was old school. She was probably
she was the second
queen of the Midrealm, right? So
one of the first Laurels, one of the first signet of the Midrealm, just had been around since forever, and she wasn't very active at that point. But she taught me to cook a feast.
Yeah.
And she taught me the basics of tablet weaving, helped me get warped, showed me Collingwood, which is like the definitive source.
Yep.
Started us both with calligraphy and illumination.
Yep. And I think that's where I really learned about the SCA proper was in her living room. Another defining moment, I thought it's kind of odd, but I remember going over to my knight's house, Duke Tadashi, and he had just won crown, and I was over there working on armor or something, and I just remember his phone constantly ringing. It's like, wow, being king is a lot of work.
Days before the internet, man. And it was. His phone just
constantly rang.
And they let it go to voicemail, or not voicemail. It wasn't voicemail. It was an
answering machine at the time, yeah.
And then they pull things off of the answering machine so that they could kind of have so that they weren't picking up the phone just cold, not knowing what was on the other end of the line at all.
Because it could have been anything.
Yeah, so that was watching that rain, and then we watched Renard and Brunhilde's rain.
Yeah.
From that front seat too.
And as much as it looked like it was a lot of work, it also looked like they were having a lot of fun with it. Yeah. And that's when, that was sort of my inspiration to fight in crowns and things like that, starting at a younger age probably than I would have otherwise normally tried.
Yeah, so lots of defining moments.
Yeah.
So at what age did you fight your first crown?
All right, so it was in the mid-realm because it was an invitation only. So
you didn't fight in Ontario?
I didn't know.
You fought for me in Ontario.
Nope, never did.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, invitation only, so probably 89-ish?
89? Yeah, it had to be 87, 88, 89. Yeah, probably about 88 or 89.
I don't know the SCA years. I'd have to do math.
Yeah. It's too late in the day for that. Because I think your squire, who then became one of the first that united. Hey, I think he was early 30s when he did his first.
Yep.
And then my brother, your grandson, Katsuo, I think he was 30. It was only a few years ago. 33, 34, because we're 36 now.
Yeah.
I think I tried when I was, 34, 35?
Yeah.
Tarrach would have been 25, 26-ish.
Yeah.
God, that'd have been so much better for me.
It was different.
It was different.
Because if you got invited, you went. Right? Because it was a chance to be seen. And so it was a big deal in the mid-realm. If you got invited, you went.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had kids the first time you fought.
No, absolutely not.
So that means that it was between, so it has to be about 89, which, you'd have been 26.
Yeah, 25, 26, yeah. And the first 3 crowns I went in, I never made it past the third round. I would occasionally win 1, sometimes win 2, but never more than 2 wins.
Yeah, but it's mid-realm. The pool there is much larger than Northshield.
Oh, the deep pool. No question about it.
And those invitationals, there'd be 60 people invited, right? So a crown of 60.
Good God.
Cool. And then so they break that into pools, and there'd be 4 lists running, and it was different than what we see here.
And I was I was an okay fighter back then, but I hadn't really picked up my style at all until we really moved on here and picked up some of the skills from those guys out that way. So that's when I became a decent fighter. I was okay. I was fast and I was young.
Fit.
Which would be a long ways. That'll get you, into that mid-realm or middle range fighting skill set. But no technique really.
Yeah. Feel that now.
But can you imagine, here, if we invited 60 people? I mean,
I don't even know if we could drum up 60 fighters or 60 couples to potentially reign.
I mean, and that's the thing. Those people weren't all potentially going to reign.
Oh, no, almost
and
none of them were.
Everybody knew it. There were probably 15, maybe 20 who were 10, maybe.
Yeah, with the knights that were fighting that weren't, didn't have to have an invitation. Those guys were the ones that were going to win.
Yeah.
The rest of us were out there just trying to see where we were in the pecking order.
It was a whole different feel because you knew that like there was no way. And it was fine. That was good because that meant we made our stuff spiffy. We got all excited. We got in line with all those dukes and stuff.
Yeah.
And got introduced and did.
And I really think that our new fighters should be fighting in crowns. I really do. Even though there's no chance or very, very, very little chance that they could win, the experience of fighting in a crown there's just nothing like it.
Yeah. And same. And I think for people to get that experience of all of that pomp and circumstance and trust the kingdom. Because, okay, so I'll tell a quick one. My girlfriend in college, I think we're going to get to the reason I joined the SCA, right? We were just college kids and we didn't know anything and we didn't have garb and we didn't like nothing. And she went home for the summer and she lived out near Seattle, right in the hub of like the hottest sticks in all of Ontario. And one of those guys was like, "You're really fun. You want to rain?" And she was like, "Yeah, I totally do. That'd be fun." So he won. And you trust the kingdom because then what happened was people were like, "How much garb do you have?" And she's like, "Well, I have a dress." And they were like, "Let's have a little party and we'll just make you some clothes." And so, I mean, they made her garb. They taught her stuff. They helped her get it all figured out. And you just, even like completely our principality reign, we were also having to trust the kingdom to help us figure it out. And they do. They want you to succeed, so they'll help you.
So that's, again, like I said, I would really like to see even ranked newbies going out there and finding someone to fight for in crown because it's just an experience.
I agree. I think it's supposed to be a fun game. You should play like it's a fun game. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Make it work.
I know that when we finally did the one, it was pretty cool. We had all the people that wanted to be there. We picked a hand, people that we wanted to support us. They each had a job.
Yep.
Did it, and then got to the finals with Ingvar, and everybody's like, "So how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm having a blast."
Yep.
Yes.
At this point, I don't care if I win, but I have had a fun day of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And as a consort, it always made me, really feel honored to be a part of that and to be a part of the history of the kingdom. Always great. Love it.
Even when I was 2 and out, it was great.
Even then, it was still great. In some ways better because then we were done.
And then we're done. Then we can watch it. Then we can watch everyone else do it.
Yeah. And go and have a drink.
And
drink while we're watching.
Yeah. Now, there was a couple times like, man, I could really use a drink right now, other than water.
Yep. Have that water.
So I guess, that kind of feels tell us a story of SCA magic moment there, Fina.
Yep. I mean that could be one. Sure.
Yeah.
Crowns were always the crown that Tarrach won in the mid-realm. That was pretty magic day.
that was a very magic day, yeah.
We had no intention, no thought that he would win it.
Nope. My goal that day was to just establish myself as a kingdom fighter. A kingdom level fighter because I knew we were going kingdom. And I wanted to be, in that recognized as in that top tier because so much of this is a mental game. And if your opponent feels like it's okay to lose to you, they often do. And but that was a where I was at a skill level where I was good. I don't think I was probably necessarily. There were plenty of people in that list that could have taken me out. Fortunately, every one of them faced Finn. or each other's, right? So I only fought one unbelt that whole round, but it was all belts that I knew I could beat, and they all knew I could beat them too. And I just went through all the way up to the semifinals. Met Morgan in the semifinals, and he was definitely a better sword and shieldsman than me, probably a better fighter than me in general. And but I was so hot with polearm that day for no particularly good reason. It was just working for me, and he beat me in the. He was coming out of the losers bracket because he had faced Finn the very first round, and so he had to beat me twice, 2 out of 3, and so sword and shield he won, polearm I won, sword and shield he won, sword and shield he won, polearm I won, and then he decided to fight me the last fight with polearm, and yeah. I was okay with it. Let me tell you, because I was like, well, yeah, I did what I wanted to do here. I established myself. I get into the semifinals. That's pretty darn hot. And he fought me with a polearm, and we both threw the same shot. It was kind of funny. We both lined up, and we both shot at the same time. This hit me here. I hit him in the head. And he hit me here. It'd have been a double kill.
Yeah, and so Rido was Prince, and so Rido had like a front row seat, right? So Lucia and Mistress Myrid, who wasn't Mistress Myrid then, were hanging out with Rido.
Yeah, they were his popsies.
They were his popsies. All kinds of jokes through the day. I had no idea where we were in the tourney. I'm just watching. Mid-run tourneys are long, whatever. So I'm watching when Tarrach fights, but whatever. And all of a sudden they're like, it's the semis.
I'm still in there.
Then we're at the finals, and like Duke Edmund is like, who's gonna hold Tarrach's shield? And I'm like, well, I guess I am, because like there's not that many people here from Northshield that can't ask Rido. So yeah. So Edmund found one of his squires and made him do it.
Yep. Yeah, because we had, like I said, I wasn't planning on winning that one. I was way down in Indiana, for God's sake.
Yeah, so we were just hanging out for the day. No, it was a good day. It was a magic day.
Yep. When I faced Finn, it's funny because I had focused on Finn at might have been a Cornet tourney. Was it Cornet? It was something in Northshield. He came out to Northshield, and I basically my goal was to brutalize him. And it was Finn, and I was a former fellow Marine. We went out there, and he decided he wanted to play 2-stick with me, and I don't fight 2-stick to save my life, right? It was working for me, and I just beat the snot out of him with his style at the time, right? And I think it got into his head. It certainly got into my head that Finn was vulnerable. And so when I faced him in the finals, it's like, after I got through Morgan, I didn't think I was going to get through Morgan. It was like, oh, Jesus,
whatever. Then I
think I'm going to win this one.
It was one of the early best 2 out of 3s, and they did the finals best 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3 times, and they all the way to 9 bouts. Neither Tamara nor I were quite sure who had won, and there were several times where both of us were like, "Where are we? What's going on?"
There was one time I didn't know who I actually thought I'd lost. I thought I had got my count off, and I thought he had won the 7 fights or whatever it was that needed to.
I don't know how her hand felt, but my hand was sore because we were holding hands, and my hand was sore afterwards. But yeah, no, it was a weird thing. Good day.
Yep.
That's why a good cornerman's good. How many?
Yeah, I wish I'd have had one.
We've never the Coronet. He won. We were like the only people there from Korsvag. His squire was there for half a day and then had to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never had.
I remember when I won the Northshield Cornet. They had these monstrous throne boxes, and I had a Plymouth K car. And
luckily we didn't bring the boys.
Yeah,
because we shoved one in the back seat and we could just get both doors shut, and then we tied one on top, and then we drove home. It's pre-internet. We get home, we come in. Aya's watching our kids. She's like, "So how'd it go? Who won the tourney?" And Tarrach's like, "Well, I did." And they're like, "Well, no way. Come on, who really won the tourney?" We're like, "No, really. Come see the box."
Yeah, you can help me haul these things off the car. Yeah.
So, what is your favorite war story?
I'm going to tell mine first because it's fast.
Okay.
We were at Penzic, and it was a wet Penzic. Shattentor had camped way down at the bottom, and they brought a whole bunch of people, first Penzics for most of them. Rained and rained and rained. So they're camped way at the bottom of that old Northshield site at Penzic, and they were camped in a mud puddle. And the sun broke through one day. We all went out, left camp, came back, and here's all of Shattentor sitting around a big old fire, and they've got their spears. They've got their socks hanging on the end of their spears. They're trying to dry their socks over the fire on the ends of their spears. It was the funniest thing. It was quintessential Penzic.
And mine was there was a Penzic where both kingdoms knew that the champions battles were getting a little bit intense, and so they had this brilliant idea of wearing everyone out before the champions battle. So they had this big bridge battle where it was just the champions, and it was a straight on resurrection bridge for like a half hour, and they were taking time points every 3 minutes. So whoever held the flag every 3 minutes, and it was the most brutal, intense fighting I'd ever been in my entire life. I mean, honestly, we were picking up people and throwing them off the bridges. It was a battle. And we all came off of that so incredibly hyped that the champions battle was the most brutal champions battle ever.
Backfire.
Totally backfired. We were just, everyone, both sides, we were just all on cloud nine. It was just in complete berserker rages.
So, to provide a little background for everybody, the year that Shattentor as a shire drummed up, I think 10 to 15 fighters was the year that you guys were king and queen.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we love them. We're going to go out there. We're going to support them. And I wasn't involved then, but I've always heard stories from them, from Steelbender and those guys before they decided they were going to stop. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So from the west end of the kingdom, which is 5 hours from where I live, it's
Right.
15 hours for me to get to Penzic.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of commitment from those guys. That's awesome.
It was. We were so glad to
was
see him.
fun.
It was fun. We had a heck of a good time. I'll give you, I think one of the other questions is a Northshield war story. And that same Penzic, right? So there were some guys that wanted to try spear, right? And so Jurgen and Rido, I don't remember whether Ziggy came up from his camp. But we basically held a little spear class right before one of the, I think it was a town battle or a resurrection town battle or something like that, right at the next day. And it was kind of funny because there were brand new guys that probably shouldn't even been out there with spear, had the spear class, and they talked about, talking to each other and how you, do things, all right, I'm gonna hook, you kill, right? And I was commanding that year. I don't.
One of the years you were general, maybe.
Maybe it was one of the years I was general. Anyways, so we got out there the next morning. We had a lot more spearmen than we normally did. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure all of them were authorized to spear. But that saying, I wasn't 100% sure they weren't. but all the Shattentor guys were out there with their spears. And Leon and it was Atlantia that came up in front of us, and we ran out there and we met, and I'll stop. I called spears out front because we learned the rock paper scissors thing. Spears came out. I turned around to organize the shield wall and the line. Turned back around, and every Atlantean spearman was dead. It was like seconds.
Wow.
Getting ready for a charge, because our guys did the new guys. They just did what they were told. It worked. It killed every single one of the Atlantean spear guys. And then they called it for rain. It was like seconds later they called it for rain. But we were winning.
You get an Orbander, and you get an Orbander.
Yeah.
That'd have been great to see. There's not enough of us that are used to working as a spear duo anymore. It's just
Yeah, and they did. I mean, they just worked as a team. Exactly. They just had the class. They knew how to do it. Right. They didn't question it because they were new, and they just did what they were told to do, and it just constantly works.
so. Here's a kind of a heavy question, but what is something you hope we never forget about Northshield?
Oh,
So we thought that was a hard question, actually. But I guess for me, that's going to be that idea that there's something that ties us together, even when we don't get along, right? Which we're a group of big people, or a big group of people. There are sometimes things where we don't get along, but it's like family. So yeah, we may fight internally, but externally, man, we're Northshield, and don't mess with our people.
and for me, it's our voice, right? Our songs and our being out there and doing the thing that I really think is made Northshield the kingdom that we are. We have never really been a quiet kingdom.
No, we're not a quiet kingdom.
Or a quiet principality. I mean, we started loud and we started proud, and I hope we never forget that. I think that being out there and being who we are, being proud that we're Northshield, and showing the world, not being afraid to show the world that we are Northshield, and our joy of being Northshield. I think that is the thing that I hope we never ever lose.
I can agree with that very much so. Hey, we brought a tank. You guys brought a tank?
Yeah.
Yes! That kind
exactly.
of thing.
That
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
And then our queen says, "Hey, if you guys are going to visit family members, do a video. We're going to do some invasion videos."
Exactly. Yes.
Valkyries, the post-it note, all those kinds of big,
showy,
crazy, playful.
Yes.
Those are good.
Yep.
I like those.
Isn't that the fur bunny stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't think of her name. One of our princesses.
Yeah. Give me a second. I can see her face.
Leia.
Layla.
Yeah. The chainmail bikini.
Yes. And the bidding on Owen wearing or not wearing a chainmail bikini.
To the Laurel meeting.
To the Laurel meeting. Yes.
At Penzic.
At Penzic. Yes. The mid meeting at Penzic.
At Penzic. Yes.
Well, I guess that's pretty much the favorite Northshield quirk as well. So
yeah, that is.
What do you think can be improved in Northshield currently? And I know that this year was probably could be a lot of things, but there's a lot of things we don't control.
So we're really good at the big stuff, right? But sometimes we really forget the little stuff, I think. So for me, and I say this all the time, I love when people take the minute to put their Coke in a cup and cover up the cracker box, put the crackers on a plate. I mean, it's so nice to walk into a room and see the people who've taken so much time and energy on their garb to have them have a setting it's not authentic, but people have taken a minute to try to make the setting for people's hard work look good as well. And that's really, I mean, I think there have been efforts in that direction, and I think the cups for new folks are a great way to do that.
Brilliant.
I love that leading by example rather than trying to tear people down with it, but just like I think when it's a big thing, we do it really, really well. Sometimes when we're not thinking about it, the little things slip.
And for me, I would like to see fewer but bigger, more traditional events. That was one of the things back in the day in the mid realm. Back in the day,
I'm going to tease him about that phrase because it's getting old.
There were always these big traditional events, and there still are. Actually, the mid realm still carries them over quite well, but there weren't very many of them, right? So you could count on every the major groups having a big event every year, not 16 big events or not 16 of one big event and 16 little events. Had their local event every year, and it allowed people, I think, to pick and choose and travel and go to something where people put an effort into. And I still think that is one of the things that Northshield could do better. Is we have some, Dub and it used to be Chat Tours Quest.
But
And now it's
summertime.
The
border
raids.
Yeah.
No, it's sad.
Northern
Realms War.
Northern Realms
War.
and Border Raids.
Yeah.
Border Raids is another one though, because that's down in the South King with the mid realm. By having those few big key events that you can focus on and you can bring your new people to and get to, and it's okay to have the little local events. That's cool too. But I think we put too much effort on the little events, and not enough on the big ones.
Yeah, so sometimes it seems like every weekend is kind of the same. It's just which gym are we in? There isn't anything that is distinctive about the weekend that makes it memorable. Or how do you sort out all the events you went to in a year? What made those events stand out and be different from each other, and into something that it was worth taking extra time to prep for and really make them a big deal?
Yeah, with the 1066 did a really good drive of, hey, come to Border Skirmish on the eastern edge of the kingdom, and then come over to NRW, and we'll pay you. They're cool coins. They stamped and stuff. And then, I mean, as far as regionally, there's at least down here in Dakotas is Hertz Creek, which is great. I mean, every year it's the Hearts War, and we go and we mini crown it, parade our consorts and sacred beaches and stuff. And then 12th night, and the cities is good. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on over in the Madison areas. Boar's Head's a big one, and
Boar's Head, that's classic, right? And that was a classic all the way from the mid realm days. And that's the sort of thing that I remember.
I think Hertz Creek is a really good example, and I think it's a good example, and it's one that we prioritize, even though it's usually not a very big event, because it is an event that stands out because it has some traditions that set it apart from other events. And I think that's kind of the key.
That's
thing.
It right there. Yeah, sets it apart from other events.
Some of sometimes what happens is we get so focused on making sure everybody has everything they want at an event that we do all of it at a kind of a minimal level. And it might be more fun to I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I do think that there's something to making it an event, a big deal.
Yeah, I run in that with Hadrian's, where we have the thrown weapons, archery, the heavy fighting, and the rapier fighting. Well, I generally don't have enough staff to help me run it all.
Right.
In the archery field, we have separate archer marshal, but I don't currently have another rapier marshal that's fully authorized beside myself. So one year it's more fencing, and the next year it's more heavy, and it's just like I'm doing what I can, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then Hertz Creek, or the Svati Sebesta group, is really good about saying, hey, Border Downs, you guys want to help us run this? I'm like, absolutely. You guys have, I think this year would be 26 years running your event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it is one that we look forward to.
Yeah. We've lost, we don't have Rudaville anymore. So, and the Dakotas, we don't have quite as much activity, or in North Dakota, we don't have as much activity as we had for a while. It'll come back though. It always kind of ebbs and flows. So people got tired and it'll come back.
Yep.
I think the Bismarck Group and Fargo are the ones primarily in the North Dakotas that are running events at this point.
Minot does a lot.
Yeah. Haven't done anything in a long time.
Okay, it's been a year since I.
Fair point. Fair point.
Midwin hasn't been able to do one for a while. They're kind of like we're low officers, low people to help.
Mm-hmm.
Where Dry Buchan still has a good number of people and a beautiful site for Bardic Blades.
Right.
And then
Bardic Blades.
You guys do your Rhythm and Brews, and you guys have done a few others.
Yep.
I was bummed I couldn't come to Rhythm and Brews the last time. Stupid money.
Right?
Yeah.
Time off, money.
Yeah.
Because I had fun. I had fun the one and only Rhythm and Brews I went to, and that was one of Rotor's Reigns.
Uh-huh.
And I just gotten back from the service and just got to fight all day and watch your squire, my cousin, Arbonne, become a court baroness, and her hat's so amazing. It was good. It was a good first event back home.
Yep. That was a good event.
I don't know if this would be an interesting question for you guys. Do you have anything on your SCA wish list that you haven't done yet?
I'm not a mod.
I knew that one was going to come up.
He's not going to do the work either.
Yeah, so,
he knows exactly what
I know I could be a mod in 5 years. No question in my mind.
And he could practice.
But it's so much work to come up here.
Well, you've got Pelican, you've got Laurel, you have Knight.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't you have like
a lot of work, and I know exactly what it would take. I know I could do it. I just not sure I want to put in that kind of effort. So yeah, no, but that'd be cool. I'm not a baron either. So if anyone wants to make me a baron,
that's okay. We're good. Really good. I might want to be a kingdom seneschal someday, or be a member of the board. Both of those things. Those are things that I really admire the people who take those on, because it's tough to do those and come through with your joy intact, because you are dealing with so much crap to help other people out. I mean, and so I really respect the people who can do it, and I really respect the people who can do it and come through with that joy in the SCA, still able to flame that back to life. So I would do those. I have a modern job that doesn't really allow for it right now, but maybe someday.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure if she's on the board, but she's my society officer for social media, and it's terrible and amazing that she puts in so much dedication, because she's in Australia. So on a Monday morning, if she wants to have a tea or coffee thing with us, she'll get up at like 4 a.m., have a social with us, and she's just lively and inviting, and it's just amazing. Like, this is my first kingdomish level office, and it's just amazing to see the joy that she brings out. And it's during the worst time to be a social media officer ever, because most of our stuff right now has to be online.
Yeah, on social. Yeah.
We for a while, Aya and I went to board meetings. We went to 3 or 4 in a row there for a bit, and I mean, so much respect for those folks. They made hard decisions. They weren't always right. People gave them tons of crap for it.
Whether or not they were right.
And they were great. I was impressed. I've always been very appreciative that folks do those jobs so that the rest of us don't have to. So I should take a turn at
Yes.
some point.
Yeah. Like, at some point I'd like to do a higher level, because I'm technically a deputy, but
Mhm.
higher level for the kingdom at some point. I don't know if I ever aspire at far to go to being on the board.
You
It's
make a
possible.
you make a good KO, marshal, kingdom marshal.
Well, it's funny because when Tristan stepped down, I actually put in for it. When Thunder Bunny was still the regional, he's like, "I'd like to see you as a regional first, and then go from there." I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you for your vote of confidence, Sir Tristan." Then Army and stuff, and at some point, yes,
Mhm.
kind of got suckered into this job. So
Yep.
When it's the right time is the time to do it. You gotta be able to. And I really respect like Petronella saying that she turned down a job this week. I think we need to be more open about that too.
Yes.
Put in for them when you have the brain space and the resources to do them.
Right.
But don't be afraid, and don't let yourself get guilted into one when it's not the right time. 'cause
Absolutely
that's
not,
never
because
any good.
that's never good.
Never
It's
good.
never a good idea.
I was actually surprised that she did, because I knew it was on her bucket list. But I'm glad that they didn't. They've been doing a whole lot of taking care of their home and updating and stuff, and that's a lot of work on its own. And plus,
Well,
she's trying to keep us on track for all the policies we're trying to get caught up with and stuff. So I'm like, that's probably a good idea, because we're probably calling you all the time. Because I know at some point I gotta be like, hey, you gonna help me? Or I have time, and you might have time now that we can go over this policy and clean it up, because I'm in the middle of writing one yet. Because
It's
Northshield
like
doesn't have one at
absolutely.
kingdom level,
Yeah.
and I would like to have something in lieu till the new society one is finished. Because there's a lot of the, the the society one is extremely vague, and I don't like it, and I cannot wait for the new one to come out.
there's a lot to be said for vagueness.
Oh, this
Get away with it.
and this fits too. Yeah, it's made things interesting, that's for sure. Okay. What advice would you give someone who is just starting out, especially, or yeah, that?
Go for it.
Don't hurry. Take your time. I mean, you'll want some garb, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly authentic. It's all good. I was a gypsy for a good long time, and that isn't even an appropriate thing to be anymore. And you just, you live, you learn, you do better, and you don't have to. So, like, it was 10 years before either of us was even really cognizant of what the peerages were and
Yes.
really thought about them or even we were just playing.
Yep.
It really seriously
swinging a
just
stick.
playing.
And hanging out with cute girls.
And and figuring out like how to get along with people and how to make basic things because we didn't have a big history of making stuff, either one of us. So just really getting started in the arts and making crazy things that weren't researched at all. Really bad stuff.
Oh, really bad stuff.
Really bad
And then
stuff.
trying to back
document
it was that.
stuff.
Boy, do you learn a lot of stuff when you back document.
You do. And that's okay. And sometimes we don't let people do that. Sometimes we make fun of them for that kind of just getting started and just playing around. And we don't do that. I mean, being playful and trying stuff is good. Just doesn't have to be right the first try.
Yeah, and I'd like that sort of along those same lines. I'd say, experiment broadly. If you don't know what your interests are, go out and try stuff. Yeah. Throw knives, throw spears, shoot archery, fight fencing, fight heavy, wrestle, whatever. Right? Just go out there and play and try all the things that are out there that you can try, and find the things that you can actually get interested in and geek out about, because those are the things that are going to take you a long ways in the society. The things that you really enjoy and aren't doing because you have to, but doing because you want to.
Yeah.
But finding those things that you want to do, those are the things that, every peer I know is a peer because they found something that they loved. And so it really wasn't, all that work wasn't really work.
Very well said. Yep. I like swinging a stick.
Yeah. That's all I did for a very long time.
Problem. Yeah. Well, but I like other things too. But
No. But that's what you think. You learn, right? So you try new things. You go, oh, yeah, this is kind of fun. I can do this. And hey, well, this is kind of cool too.
yeah, but the thing that keeps you there, keeps you coming back, and then you discover other things, which I think the military helped me with that, actually, giving me time to be like, well, I can't fight right now because I'm in Korea, and it's about 2 hours south to go to the base where it's on, so
Yep.
I'll do some calligraphy illumination stuff.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't, I don't want to force anyone into being a scribe or anything, but if you do a few scrolls for a few people, and then you get scrolls from other people, you really learn to appreciate all the effort and time.
Oh man, I really, the first scroll I got was from Sir Ranthifer, Master Ranthifer, and I was, this is nice, and now
we know.
Now we know, and it's an incredible work of art. And this is for my AOA, right? Way back in the day, and you have no idea unless you've actually tried to do that.
And Duke Doggin.
Oh man,
he came up here while Sexberga was Signet, and we were trying to help Sexberga because she was Signet. And Doggin came, and he's the one who told us that he did
all the scrolls, every single scroll for his reign,
for his first reign, and that he thought everyone should do as many scrolls as they have. So if you have a scroll, you should think about making a scroll.
I'm a bit behind.
And
me too at this point.
But that's why I did the scrolls for our Principality reign. I did the scrolls for the Principality Awards for our Principality reign. And that was an amazing experience and very, very cool.
One of the things you really find out is the more effort you put into something,
the more you
get out of it. Yeah.
Especially when you get to be at the event where you hand out the scroll and see it.
Yeah.
It's its own reward.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I was giving out the scrolls that I had made, and my household made all of the mid-realm awards for that reign. I didn't think about the signet, and I should have, but I didn't know to think about the signet. So the signet was probably like, hey, what about me? But
because they didn't have a whole lot of work to do that.
No, because they did mid-realm courts in Northshield, but that was all. And but it was an amazing thing to do, and it was I learned so much, and it was really cool. So much. Don't do that again was one of the things I learned.
We have people for that,
right?
Especially now, our last few signets have been really good.
Oh, amazing! We've had a good run. Ever since Therica really set a bar for signets.
Oh man, yeah.
It has definitely helped. Like this entire online reign would have been bad if
can't even imagine.
And Marcial did an excellent job, and I told him right away. I was like, hey, just send me a message right away that when you get these, so that I know. That way we can be all in the same ball. Otherwise, I probably would have not. And then the scrolls would have been on the internet courts. I'd be like, ugh. And then the marshal would be yelling at me. I'd be like, nope, I totally deserve that.
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible to watch the coordination and stuff that people are doing for this.
Yes.
It's really neat.
Yeah. And watching the online the crowns, Ellis and Felix and Madalena and Karen and this so much work for so long. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, we were crispy crittered by, you know, 3 or 4 months in. You know, you just run it out to the end there. But I can't even imagine. And then they're doing such a great job of it. They really are doing a great job of it.
Yeah, so appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of coined herself as a super queen now. I'm like, well.
Yeah, no question about it. Oh, no question about it. Yeah.
Fair.
Like you've got a lot of time in.
Yep.
So, those that have watched these, she really likes tea.
Okay.
That's easy.
That's really cool. What kind of teas?
Generally non-caffeinated, which was my mistake.
Okay.
Yeah, good to know.
Or greens or blacks or
Both.
Yeah, because I actually do some research with the Tea Institute in China. I have access to some of the best tea in the world. I can't tell the difference.
I kind of can, but not. But I'm usually a black tea. Got to be kind of strong. I can put my milk in.
They call that red tea, and they think that's no. Now, if you're really a lover of tea, it would be only green teas, and they'd be talking about the floral scents and the hibiscus and the other attributes of it that sort of like a fine wine. They're way beyond me.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I don't have that. I don't like green tea all that often, considering my heritage.
That's funny.
Yeah, they say the red teas, which we call black teas, they call them red teas, and they save those for the Westerners.
Well, that's good because that's kind of what I prefer.
Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, we kind of all touch these just without really asking. I don't know. You guys got a story that you want to leave off with or something like that? I'm kind of out of questions.
No, it's not really. Yeah. I've certainly enjoyed, like I said, I guess it's the effort I've put in, I've always gotten so much more out of. From when leading the Northshield Army in the early days when we were just beginning to be Northshield, learning the battlefield, learning how to read a battlefield, learning to bring modern military technology into running an army in a medieval sense. There's a fair amount of overlap there that I'm not sure a lot of people fully recognize. I've certainly learned a lot. I'm really looking forward to learning a little bit more. I don't know if you know this. I just commissioned a sword from
I saw, and it's looking amazing. The picture.
Yeah, it's not quite what I was looking for. It's actually
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It wasn't designed like I would have designed it, but it turned out absolutely fantastic. So I'm gonna have to learn some jewelry making technology there to put together the hilt for that thing. I told him I'll hilt it and put together the scabbard for it.
And that stuff.
So. I wish I could get a hold of Garrick. I wish I'd had more of a chance to have him show me how to enamel and stuff when I was down there with him. Because
it's not hard if you have a kiln. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's an art to it.
Yeah, I'm remembering
Jurgen. That's what I went to. Yeah,
8 fails before he got. So yeah, that story that I think I didn't tell that I had thought about telling that I can end with is when Elise Catherine was queen of the mid-realm, she decided that she needed to get to know the principality. And so she came to Northshield and she did, I think it was a 10-day progress through Northshield, stopping at groups, big circular progress. And I couldn't go for all of it because I had school and stuff. But I joined for 4 or 5 days. Ella Shava went with her for the whole thing. She was princess then. And we just stopped in little groups and people brought their stuff and shared with us like on a Wednesday night. You know, they'd be like, the queen's here, and they would all come to their out, and Shava and I would walk around and we'd all look at people's arts and we'd talk to people, we'd watch people fight. And I think that was just like there was.
You talked about pattern welding.
I did. There was a guy and down in the southern end of Minnesota who'd done pattern welding, and I knew just enough words from talking to Tarrach that I could like make his day by making him think I almost understood this stuff, and he just went off, and I was like, okay, we're way past what I understand, but keep telling me, it's so cool. I think that is kind of what the thing that the SCA can really do, right? It was just 3 ladies going around, and John Chandler came too. He was driving for Elise, and he wrote a song on that trip. Just those kinds of things that just inspire people to try new stuff and be playful and help them understand that what they do is important and helps them belong. I think that's really the strength of the SCA, and what I hope Northshield never loses is that.
And it is, I think it's ubiquitous too, because I've traveled the world with science and stuff like that, and every time I go someplace, I try to find the local SCA group, and wow, the people just throw open their homes and share everything with you. It's just it is an amazing thing. The generosity that is endemic to the SCA, I think, it's
really cool.
It really is. It's a wonderful thing, and it really is what makes this society a great society.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Like we Gaia and I had a Gulf Wars from hell. It wasn't the event itself; it was the getting there and the getting home. Like I had several vehicle issues getting there.
Yep.
We got them sorted out. We had a great week. On our way home, we made it almost to Kansas City, which is about 6 hours from home, and the van died. Start, and I knew the now Count Sir Agamemnon, Agamemnon, and I was like, "Hey, man, my car broke down. Can you help us?" And he's like, "Yes, you can come stay with us. It'll be fine, So, yeah, that is a great takeaway, that our community is not just our kingdom or our state. It's the entire country.
It is. This is a society all over the world.
Yeah, and like running into, I mean, you never know, somebody you met somewhere else can show up and live in your kingdom, or you go somewhere else and you run into.
So here's an SCA story. So I'm at a scientific conference in Australia, and I think so I'm going to get to go to their fighting event, and I'm going to be like this new guy who shows up and goes, "Oh, this is cool. Can I try this?" And they'll put me in loner armor. And I'm there and I'm doing this, and I managed to get there, and I found them, and they're putting me in loner armor, and I'm putting on the loner armor, and Duke Sheridan, Callan from Count Tarrach shows up. He goes, "Tarrach!" And I'm like, "Dude, I'll blow my cover."
So it gives you a network across the world.
It does. It gives you a network across the world, and so when you find yourself traveling, you always have these local contacts that you can utilize. And I've never been turned down. I've always been shown the greatest of generosity and hospitality. Yep.
It's our game, our society. It's a treasure. It really is.
Really so. Really so.
those are good to end on. Yeah, I think that is a great message, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time. And it's great seeing you. I really wish that I could
Absolutely likewise.
travel. I wish Tarek and I could hit each other and roam
June.
up there. And
June.
yeah, and then there's little Hans, as we call him.
Yeah,
He's doing equestrian up there, and just it's good to see that we're thriving even without
even the time
to do the things. But this time has allowed people to learn a lot of skills, develop those skills, even put away some money. So that's there's that.
Right?
I wouldn't have that sword if it wouldn't, but for the fact that we couldn't travel.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the new armor that I'm hiding in Tail Crown. If so, it's all in perspective, and it's good to and it's been amazing the support that the kingdom and the society has given each other, and during this crazy time. And Her Majesty and His Majesty are really just trying to spread the fun. So,
and they're doing an excellent job of it.
That's why we do this stuff and the shenanigans that they plan. So, yeah, again, thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna order dinner.
Excellent. Probably have a nice rye as well.
No, actually, I was doing a scotch, so and it's empty, so I can yeah.
It's broken, so it's a good time. So you can.
Listen, absolutely.
Well, folks, that's it for this segment of the Griffin Tales. We appreciate y'all taking the time to come and see us and seeing some of my favorite people in the SCA. Definitely helped me along the way, especially since they had to put my knight in his place back in the day and get him going.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
But with that, folks, we'll all say goodnight, and we'll see you on the next one.
Until fate brings us shoulder to shoulder to stand as brothers again.